it should be interactive. It has a goal. Played with others and others can interfere. So what do we know? Ano yung mga frameworks that could help you describe and create your own? Ito na. These are the skills or guidelines that you can think about and apply to your own settings. There's such a thing called function-focused and human-focused design. So ang function-focused design is that design principle that says we assume that the players are robots who will do whatever they are required to do because they neither like nor dislike what you need them to do. Makes sense. And the example given by some of the books that talk about this is chess. Kasi have you ever wondered kung gusto naman talagang kainin yung pawn, yung knight? Parang when you're playing chess and you're at that moment na, uy, pwede ko nang kainin yung bishop. Pwede kong gamitin yung horse. Have you ever wondered if the horse really wants to eat the bishop? Na parang, but we can't ask that kasi they're inanimate objects. Pero it gives you an idea of function-focused design. You can do this, you will do this, do it. There was an anime that got released recently. It's called No Game, No Life that tried to apply a human take on chess. So in this particular scene, the white pieces were losing, but the player playing the white pieces, but at least how it was depicted in the game was the chess pieces have feelings. And then when the white pieces were losing, the player playing the white pieces said, okay, if you're able to win this, then you will be exempted from taxes for the rest of your life. And you will not be joining any other war other than this. You just have to win this and you retire, you have money, you will not pay tax. And then they got riled up. They were in a losing position, but the white pieces won. And this is sort of like a funny way to describe or to present human-focused design, but it works for our definition because the design of the gamification intervention should remember that whoever is using your framework, your intervention, these are people, guys. They have feelings, they have insecurities, they have enemies, they have frustrations, fears, and reasons why they want to do or don't want to do a thing. And we design for them so that we can have these interventions na akala mo simple, di ba? But they are being used. Why? Because they're rooted in the feelings and the human desires of the people who are using them. And isn't it weird na if you go for human-centered design, sometimes you will not get your KPIs, your outcomes, your targets for the quarter. But I ask you to sort of remember a time when you told your manager about what's happening in your life and they really listened and they checked up on you. Dude, that's a management decision because the business will tell you, okay, suck it up. Tomorrow you will go to work and you will work. But that person made a management decision. Hindi na mo na. Kasi tao to. Say your mom died and your work gave you enough time to grieve the loss of your loved one. Doesn't that give you a feeling na, damn, I'll stay with this company? Diba? That's a business decision. You're losing. You're losing what you can be making for the day. But your manager said, sige na, Nate. Wag na muna. Or a time when your teacher gave you some consideration for a missed requirement and you told him life happened and you aren't really lying. That was a pedagogical decision. Spaced learning, you know what? If we are to follow the spaced learning by the book, dude, you should attend class tomorrow. Pero di na muna. Diyan ka na muna. Fix that and then come back. Doesn't it incite that feeling of I would die for this person? Parang I would stay here, I would die for this person. And that's what human-centered design is. You remember the human. Reddit tagline, Memento Humani, remember the human. And now that we know that, now that I have invited you to just remember that you're designing for humans when you're creating these gamification frameworks, I now bring your attention to the person who has made his life's work about gamification. There's a very brilliant scientist, athlete, Yu Kai Cho, who created this octalysis framework that specifically says humans have 8 core drives and that you can design gamification interventions anchored on one, some, or all of these core drives. So we come to the part where you can now use this to design your own. Pa-apply na lang sa mga scenarios ninyo in your work or study. So one of the core drives of us humans DAO is epic meaning or special calling. This is when you're able to make the player, student, teammate, believe that they're doing something that's greater than themselves. So whenever you have, say for instance, Wikipedia contributors, wala yun bayad. But why do they do it? They can't even put it in their resumes. But why do they do it? Well, they do it because creating this content that's open source is actually my help to the world. Epic meaning. And it 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 can be that grand or it can be very simple. For instance, if you're designing a game, level 1, bigyan mo ng rare item yung player. Out of nowhere. Wala lang. Here's a rare item. I would bet my salary you will keep that player playing for 10 years. Kasi parang he was the chosen one. I was the chosen one. Level 1 and I got this rare item. Epic meaning, special calling. Development or accomplishment, we want to see progress. We're humans. We want to see that who I am today is greater than who I was yesterday. The word challenge here is very important. I want to highlight this because sometimes the badge or trophy without a meaningful challenge is not alluring at all. So it has whenever you're giving these badges, and we'll have examples later on, you must remember na the challenge should be tantamount to the reward. Empowerment of creativity and feedback. Ito magkakaproblema dito kasi it goes against some of especially in the education setting, it goes against some of the pedagogy that's being considered to be status quo at the moment. Kasi how can you empower creativity and check all those submissions too? You get what I'm saying? Na parang if I have a requirement, exercise 1, okay, let's empower creativity. Exercise 1 is not a quiz that has one answer. You have a 10-item quiz and there are 10 unique correct answers only. If you want to go by this principle, you will design the quiz in such a way that if you have 40 students, you have 40 answers. Diba? That's creativity. Or you have a task, it can be completed in 10 ways. But the rubrics hold them together so that the standard is still enforced. But creating the quiz, checking the quiz, and administering it, it's hell if you try to empower creativity and feedback too. So something to think about. Ownership and possession, this is the drive that motivates people to do well if they think they own something. If you own something, you will most probably take care of it. This is the same, sorry, we were just discussing this morning. Yesterday night, I mean. Pinapangalanan nyo ba yung gamit nyo? If you buy a bag, do you give it a name? I do. I previously did not, but I noticed that when I buy things and give them a name, mas naalagaan ko siya, bros. It's weird. It's so weird. But that sense of ownership na, this is mine and it has a name, kumusta na kaya yung sapatos ko? Malinis pa ba siya? Let me take care of Mark, my leather shoes. Anyway, so in the same way, you can create, lalo na we're designing games, you can create those features, profiles, badges that are unique to the player, that the player owns, items that the player owns. You ever wondered why in games like, say for instance, CS Strike, you can actually name your gun. You can actually name your gun and gift it. And that's sort of the same thing. If you can make features that make the player feel that they own something or possess it, they will do well on it. Social influence and relatedness. This incorporates anything that has something to do with the player 2, influencing player 1. This includes mentorship, acceptance, social responses, etc., companionship, whatnot. This is the drive of wanting or scarcity and impatience. This is the drive of wanting something because you can't have it. Guilty, guilty. Many games have appointment dynamics or a comeback later sort of mechanic, especially in mobile games. Now, when you open the chest, you have to wait 4 hours in order to open the next one. Or sometimes they do it this way. I have a chest you can open one time in a day. But the amount of time that you have to wait before you open the chest determines the rarity of the item that you get. So if I wait for 10 hours before opening the crates, they call it crates, right? Then I get a silver tiered item. When I wait 17 hours to open the crate, then I get a gold tiered item. Scarcity. Unpredictability and curiosity. Generally, this is a harmless drive of wanting to find out. If you don't know what's going on, you are engaged. And among the core drives, this is the one that's generally abused, especially by our gotcha game mechanics, where when you buy a chest, it is not guaranteed that you get the item that you want. Inside the chest, there are several other items. If you just need one, but there are 13 in the lineup in the array of items that the chest has. Worst case, you have to buy 13. You can't escape it. So it's sort of like a modern Skinner's box. Skinner box when you have the dogs that can push buttons and then food may or may not appear. That was torture, but it's sort of like the same thing being done to us. Loss and avoidance is pretty straightforward. Everyone does not want to lose something. Yun, very basic human drive. And if you can design your gamification intervention in such a way that parang if you don't do this now, you lose the chance to do it forever. Very effective. Also, I wanted to say na if you think about it talaga, something sorry, I'm speaking as the teacher now. If you think about it, even our uh even the strategies we use in our teaching can already qualify as some kind of gamification mechanic. So for instance, loss and avoidance, when you have quizzes that you can only take Friday at 8 to 8:15 a.m., tapos wala na sila forever, then you're activating this core drive. That's why they do it, 'di ba? Tingnan niyo to. The kind teachers and the terror teachers, you'll notice na kapag nag-set sila ng same um scarcity in the materials that they give the students will comply the same way in the kind teacher setting and the terror teacher setting kasi nga there's scarcity in the assessment. And so those are some of the things that you can use to mold your gamification structure. Yukai wanted to add that these core drives are strategically placed as elements around this octagon to communicate additional themes like right brain and left brain gamification. So within Octalysis, the core drives on the left are left brain core drives. So accomplishment, ownership, scarcity. Those appeal to the sort of, and this is not, sorry, let me read the last paragraph first. This is not considered, the labels, I mean, are not considered true brain science, but they are merely there so that dealing with the designing phase is manageable. But you can understand it as practically the same way. Accomplishment, ownership, scarcity, parang left brain, survival. I need to win. I need to take ownership. This should be mine. Those are left brain drives. Right brain are empowerment, social influence. Can I do something in this class that can affect another student positively? Right brain. You also have what's a little bit more interesting, the white hat and the black hat um gamification strategies. These are so yung if you're trying to design for sorry, may chat kasi na the audio could be made um a little bit louder now. Ev- But I think I've maximized all that I can do in my end. So another element is white hat. Sorry, another way to look at it is white hat and black hat gamification. And I think this could be better explained by looking at the black hat gamification, because if you try to look at the three core drives at the bottom, scarcity, unpredictability, and avoidance, parang tinatakot mo yung tao para mapasunod mo siya, 'di ba? Scarcity, do this now or you lose it forever. Unpredictability, you don't know when I will give you the score. Avoidance, parang if you don't do this, I give you some kind of deduction. So again, these are not, I don't want it to be labeled good or evil. What I'm just trying to present to you is that these are human core drives that you can replicate in the design of your systems. Free for all siya pare, pero consensual nyo rin, di ba? These themes are usable when describing the design of gamification intervention. So for instance, let's take the example of Farmville. We can say that Farmville generally is left brain kasi of all the indicators, dun siya heavy. And then it's also black hat kasi if I look at it in four quadrants, concentration of the identity of the game falls at the lower left. So Farmville, di ba? I want a farm. So that's ownership of the farm, scarcity. I have little water. I need to manage it well. And avoidance. I don't want my plants to die. So let me log into the game. And also, remember that you need other people. Wala lang. Gusto ko lang i-connect siya dun sa definition ulit ni Chris Crawford na if you're doing something but it does not involve other people and being able to affect other people who are players in the game, you have to artificially create that for your game. So that was level 1 octalysis. May game ako. I have the core drives and then let me design for all these core drives. Okay, that's well and good. But there is also something called level 2 octalysis, and the gamers will appreciate this very much. Because if you've ever played League of Legends or any type of MOBA game, League of Legends, ML, Dota, you can think of this as the early game, mid game, and late game conditions of the match. And you're trying to design for all those phases in the match. So to the team leads among you, you very well know that your 31-year-old programmer with a family of two kids will play, quote unquote, work differently than your fresh hire. You know this. So you need to design for whatever gamification system you'll apply at work and for whatever purpose, whatever behavior change you want to achieve. You must know na, I can't make my veteran workers respond the way I'm trying to make my freshies, my fresh hires respond. The teachers among us as well. Your third year students will be motivated by different things compared to your freshies. Badges may still work para dun sa mga freshies natin, but I think hindi siya gagana for those who are a little bit seasoned in terms of their academic journey. Level 3, octalysis, and this is what the examples later on when we share what we have done is doing, where you have not only the phases of the player journey, so discovery, onboarding, scaffolding, end game, but you also have the personalities of the players. So here in this example, in this example chart, this is Bartle's player types that are mapped to each of the uh, player journey phases. So perhaps in order to situate this with you, to situate the example, and sorry, yes, Daryl will be sharing the presentations. May mga links rin pati. May mga links dun sa baba so that when the presentation gets shared, you can click the link and it will take you to wherever, well, to the resource that's presented. Okay. So team leads and teachers, you may have noticed that some students prefer tutoring other students, 'di ba? That's their point of contribution. Parang it's what they're most happy to do. Others like to beat someone in competition in terms of grades and merit. So those are the clubs. Uh, The other ones, the ones who like tutoring other people, we call them the hearts. Some are very keen in breaking the rules you've set, trying to see what they can do and what they cannot do. Those are the spades. And the others are really the the model students na they are invested in fair learning and completing things as you have laid them out. The diamonds, the achievers. These are the Bartle player types. So yung link nga dito, the link that I've placed here below should take you to the Bartle Player Types questionnaire. You can make your students answer the questionnaire para alam nyo kung anong klaseng player type sila, and then you can design, perhaps adapt your gamification system to the different player types you have in your class. I once had a class na lahat sila hearts. So I just adapted my delivery of my gamification structure to take note na, oh, they want interaction more than anything. Alternatively, there are yung Bartle player types kasi is just one. It's just one thing that you can use to know the player type of your students, teammates. There's something that we used extensively. This is Marchevsky's hexad player types to determine the play personality of your team or students. You can just use it in lieu of Bartels. But very briefly, ito naman, he extended the Bartel player types in a way and said that there are 6 types. Socializers are motivated by relatedness. So my overlap, I think these are the hearts in Bartel's player types. We also have students who are free spirits that are motivated by autonomy and self-expression. They want to create, they want to explore. Achievers are motivated by mastery. They are there to learn new things and improve themselves. You ask them to help other students? No, we don't want to. We want to learn. You ask them to be involved in a class project? No, I want to master my craft. Philanthropists are motivated by purpose and meaning. This is the altruistic group, wanting to give to other people. Some are motivated by rewards. Disruptors are motivated by change. So I think these are the spades. And similarly, the link that I have at the bottom should take you to the questionnaire of the gamification hexad user types of Marchevsky. And the way to use it is really administer the survey to your students so that you know what type they are. Tapos tingnan nyo yung gamification design nyo na, okay, baka hindi ito gumana kasi we have more socializers than free spirits in this class. Okay. And of course, it's always, as I think the term that they use is, as always a spectrum na you can be a disruptor and a socializer at the same time. Parang these are not on and off switches, but rather these are percentages that make the whole person. So just be aware of that. It's nice to be cognizant that this is not an on and off switch. Okay, so that's it. That's octalysis. Ito isa pa, and this is the last framework that we have time to discuss. I'll be sure to make it quick. This is what we did. We called it Sifyas, but if we are to describe it without the branding, yung Sifyas kasi is what we named the whole thing. But if we are to describe it without the branding, it's really just identity-based gamification. The gist of this is we want to create an identity first within the person so that it influences the process of the person and then towards the acquisition of the goal. So the framework of the framework is really this. Any gamification design, and sorry, context. We tried deploying this during the pandemic where you have to understand that whenever something like a pandemic happens, parang all knowledge of the world gets thrown out the window and you're left to create another thing. Parang you can have clues, bits and pieces of what you can do to move forward, pero you really have to string them together pa in order for you to have a coherent plan moving forward. So these are our ideas. The idea was any gamification design deployed in the context of online learning, emergency remote teaching during a pandemic must take into account that the student learner is simultaneously attending to 2 communities. Na-feel nyo rin ba to? The local family has a system, it has an impact on you, and the online class has its own system, has its impact on you. Because of mere proximity, family systems that might get in the way of learning are considered to be of greater influence. Mas malapit ka dun eh, online kayo. Hence, the badges that we designed follows a certain strategy called the behavior change